Hi, my name is Jane Yoon, and I've been held hostage making kimchi all day, all day, all day. Umma, Umma. This is homemade kimchi, the red pepper pickled Napa cabbage side dish that Koreans eat with almost everything. And whenever my mom says that it's kimchi making day, I internally want to scream. Ooh, it is hot today. Holy crap. Hi, I'm Jane and welcome to my channel. So I currently live at home, so that means I am basically spoiled, specifically through homemade food. My mom is probably one of the best Korean home cooks that I know of, and I have been so blessed and grateful to have grown up eating her food and have learned the importance of homemade cooking. So my mom was born in Busan, South Korea, and she learned the importance of home cooking from her mom, my grandma, who raised 5 kids post-Korean War. She was probably the most elite home cook that I know of as well. She literally made things like odeng, which is fish cakes from scratch. Like, I have never eaten non-frozen odeng, so I don't understand. So here's a day in my life living with my parents' kimchi making edition, where we're making not your high-end, easy, quick recipe gatcheori kimchi. Like, I'm talking the real deal, delicious homemade pechu kimchi. Spooky, very spooky. So my mom cannot stay still and literally started before I woke up, even though I told her the night before that I wanted to film this process. So to prep the cabbage, she's cutting the heads into fourths at the stem and trimming as necessary. And yes, we will be preparing the whole box.
딸도 얼마나 마음고생을 했으면 그랬겠나. 누가 딸을 그렇게 하고 싶겠나.
To prep the cabbage for the sauce, we need the leaves to have a soft, rubbery texture while also pre-seasoning them with a bit of salt. The cabbage leaves hold a lot of moisture in its fresh and firm state, so in order for them to wilt, we gotta use the salt to bring the water out of the leaves. Salt breaks down the cell walls of the cabbage, which causes them to become more pliable. Osmosis, basic science. The first step is a simple saltwater brine. This also not only introduces the cabbage to the salt brining process, but allows us to wash the leaves and do a quick quality check. And then we use that same water to further soak the leaves, and then we leave it compressed with a water weight for about an hour or so. So a little lesson on salt. Though these salt crystals are ginormous in size, they don't really have a strong salty flavor. Korean coarse sea salt, also known as cheongnyeom, I think is lower in sodium value and lighter in weight than your typical table salt like Morton. Because each granule is quite large in size, this also helps for a gradual and deeper permeation into the cabbage stem as opposed to more powder-like salt, which will only dissolve faster and flavor just the surface level of the leaf. So if you thought about using something like table salt for kimchi, let me save you the embarrassment and do not do that or it'll be way too salty. Now, it's important that you generously salt the base of each leaf, and the key is to generously because remember the salt ain't that salty, so it's okay. What's worse is if you don't and then you wait 4+ hours and the leaf is still stiff and your mama gets really angry because you were lazy and you didn't salt enough between each layer. So remember, generously salt between each layer. Then we neatly stack them into a bag in a box. It Doesn't have to be in a box, but you must be in a bag because later we have to inspect the leaf and then later flip the bag upside down after 2 hours of letting it wilt to allow for an even wilting process. So I kind of like to think the sauce as human blood. So let me explain. So blood is essentially composed of 3 things. So plasma, red blood cells, and then platelets and leukocytes. So plasma is the liquid part of the sauce. So I'm talking the blended juice of the veggies and fruits, and then the sticky rice porridge binder, and then the added liquid sauce seasonings. The red blood cells are obviously the Korean red pepper flakes that add the red color, and then additional chilies that are also red. And then lastly, the platelets are the chunky textural stuff like the chopped veggies and the fruits and the added textural things that you bite into. So altogether, it's a sauce. So the sauce is the main labor-intensive part of this whole process. It's a combination of peeling, chopping, and blending an assortment of veggies and fruits to create this chunky-like paste which looks very appetizing, which we then strain into a cheesecloth to squeeze out this liquid gold. The literal fruit of our labor, honestly. This was probably the hardest part to do growing up because we would have to squeeze every drop of juice because my mom would be like, "It's so aqua if you don't." Now she's gotten a lot more lenient, I don't know why, but we would make sure that we would have gloves on for this part because you could get blisters. So once we have this liquid base, we're then able to add everything else. So the sticky rice paste, and then of course the red pepper chili flakes. My mom had this from Korea and she noticed that it was kind of dull looking, so she added some extra frozen blended chilies that she had earlier to add a little bit more flavor. Korean red pepper flakes tend to not be too spicy anyways, so adding additional chilies isn't too crazy. Next is flavor balancing. This is where we add in all the additional sauces to create a deep umami flavor. This includes the chokgar, which are the tiny little shrimps, fish sauce, some berry syrup, yeondu, and then just whatever you think is necessary. And then once we have a desired initial taste, we finally add in the textural veggies like green onions and the Korean radish. And when cutting the mu, which is Korean radish, you have to take a first bite of the raw sliced mu just to taste it. It's a thing, I don't know why, but unfortunately my mom didn't like it that much. But what can we do? We're still gonna add it. So the reason we have to flip the cabbage is because as the leaves wilt and expel their liquid, the salty water drains all the way to the bottom because of gravity. And flipping them halfway allows all the areas of the cabbage to wilt evenly. I think this is why we do it, honestly. Hi, my name is Jane Yoon, and I've been held hostage making kimchi all day.
엄청 힘든 것도 아니야. 자, 이걸 한번 뒤집어 봅시다. 뒤집으라고? 아니, 뒤집어서 보자. 엄마가 볼게. 다 됐다.
다 됐어?
이렇게 띡띡. 다 된 거지.
보여줘.
이렇게 팍 죽잖아. 뻣뻣한 거 없이. 그럼 다 된 거야. 자, 그리고 씻어야 되는데 이렇게 씻을 수 있어. 씻고 안에서만 씻었거든 나는. 물을 그냥 이건 여기 옆에 물이 그렇게 나오게.
Alright, now that we have finally passed the wilting step and created nice rubbery cabbages, we have to stop them from wilting too much by washing them off with cold water. So, welcome to our makeshift Napa cabbage washing factory in the dark. So we finally come to the part where we join forces together with our red sauce and then our beautifully wilted Napa cabbages. This part is fairly simple and fun. It's literally just painting the red sauce into each cabbage leaf, again generously, so that it is ready for fermentation.
진짜 어쩌라고 나보고. 맛있지. 달다. 근데 맛있다.